Guten Tag, ladies and gentlemen. The Knife Raven here, back again with another video. And in today's video, I will be taking a look at one of my favorite knives from Germany. And I've talked about this knife in the past. However, that was on my other channel, and that video has since been taken down, unfortunately. So I figured it's been enough time, and I've had this knife for long enough and used it for long enough that I think I can give a pretty fair review on it and share with you my thoughts on it. So what is it? Well, you've probably read the title and seen the thumbnail, so you already know what this is. This is the Mercator K55K. Now, the Mercator K55K is just such an interesting knife. And for such a basic design, it really has a lot of history behind it. And while I don't know as much about it as I'm sure some do, all I know is that it was invented in the 1860s, I believe, and the brand who made it was, I believe, Kauffmann Knives. And the K, the first K, means Kauffmann. 55 is the address that is part of the address that the brand was located at, where they made their knives. And then the reverse K means Katze, which is German for cat. As you can see, there is the cat, and that is their iconic logo. The knife has gone under a few different names, including the Kaiser Wilhelm knife, the Emperor Wilhelm knife, the Black Cat, and the Mercator, among others. And it is a very basic knife with a lot of utility behind it. Now, I will go into the specs of the knife and talk a little bit about how I think it performs as an everyday carry. So without further ado, let's begin with the measurements. Now, I'm going to have to say already, for all my UK viewers, you know it's a lockback. It's already not a legal knife. Overall length with the clasp at the end is about 8 1/4. Without the clasp, the handle is just over 4 1/4 inches. The blade is just under 3 1/2, and just the sharpened edge comes in just at about 3 1/4. So in every way, this is not a UK legal knife. Again, get that out of the way. But for other parts of the world where you don't have blade length limitation laws or lockback bans, this should be a fairly legal knife. Now, the handle is made out of folded sheet metal. Technically, this would be considered an integral, and that is a term that to most would offer up images of very expensive custom knives. However, in the case of the Mercator, this knife costs you, if you're looking in the right place, less than 50 Canadian. So it's definitely a budget-friendly knife. The lockback, which is very odd compared to most. Most lockbacks are in the handle, whereas this is actually sitting outside of the handle. You got the rivets that hold it together. You have your loop here, which you can put a lanyard on. You know, there is a pin through it. You can move it if you so desire. And the blade, which is a spear point design, features a very generous nail nick you can easily use to open your knife, but there is enough of the blade sticking out you can pinch it with ease. On the blade, you can see it has the Mercator name, and then Germany Solingen, which is the city of blades where this knife originated from. On the back, engraved in the handle, you can see it says Mercator Germany. And at the back, there is a plastic spacer here, so that when the blade closes, it hits against the plastic and doesn't damage the edge. So this is a great way to deal with blade wrap. There is no blade play here whatsoever. This is solid as a tank. And the knife is very thin, as you can see here. measuring not even, I'd say just about a 1/4 inch in thickness. So very, very thin. And the blade itself is about 1/8 of an inch thick. So very, very slender knife. You can see this would be easily carried in a pocket. The handle is big enough that you can get an easy 4-finger grip on it. There's this almost copperhead-esque curve at the front, which makes for a very comfortable place for your finger. And if you so desire, there's a ramp here, and it is very nice as a place where you can choke up with your thumb for a very comfortable grip. And again, very, very good whether you want to hold it even in the backwards whittling grip. Still a very comfortable knife. Now, the blade, as you may have noticed, is carbon steel, and this is a patina that has been crafted from a combination of use and also a lemon. I decided to do an experiment to see what exactly a patina would look like if I left the blade in a fresh lemon, and it turned out fairly well. There's a very slight textured feel to the blade, and while it does have, well, no real similarity to it, it almost invokes the vague image of a type of Damascus. And I know some people hate the look of Damascus, and to them this is probably an ugly knife that I have ruined now. But for those who can appreciate a good patina or a Damascus finish, then I'm sure that this is fairly nice to you. But the blade is, again, made of C75 carbon steel, which is a budgety carbon steel. It isn't the hardest steel in the world. It doesn't hold an edge for terribly long, but as evident by my frequent use of this knife and by the fact that I actually have sharpened it, it sharpens up very well. It doesn't dull too quickly, and it holds an edge for an okay period of time. Again, it doesn't excel in any particular area. The corrosion resistance isn't as good as some steels. It doesn't hold an edge as long as M390. It doesn't sharpen as quickly as Opinel's XC90, I believe. But nonetheless, it is still a very good mid-range steel. Again, kind of comparable to the C70 used by Sheffield Knives, in this case Arthur Wright & Son. Although I will say I have a slight bias to the C75. So, you've got fairly decent steel. You can also get it in stainless if you so desire. Handle materials, the K55K is only available in the large size with the black painted steel. However, if you choose to get the Mercator version with the Otter logo instead of the cat, you can get it in brass, copper, plain stainless steel, and I believe they've released a couple limited edition releases, including one with a ruthenium coating, which is very fancy. I personally prefer the traditional one with the cat, also because I like cats. Deal with it. But this is the traditional model. So if you want the true Mercator experience, you should definitely go for this model. But again, I really like brass, I like copper, so I've been thinking of getting an alternate model, perhaps in the stainless steel. But another thing I do know is that there is a small version, which is a slip joint. If you so desire, you can get this knife with no lock, and it is a UK legal model. There is instead of the lock bar, it's just a plain back, and there's an integral back spring. And yeah, it's a slip joint version of the Mercator. So for those who are interested, you can absolutely get that. It's a UK legal version. But again, I don't have one yet. This is just the one I've got. So As a re-review, I have had at least a year, if not more, to use this knife, and while I don't carry it every day, I've used it a lot more than my other Otters, and I have to say, it's a very nice knife to carry. It's light, it's thin, you can carry it in almost any pocket. While it does have a lock, and to some may be considered a bit scary, it doesn't give off that, say, stiletto switchblade vibe that a lot of spear point lock knives seem to radiate. And because of that, I have to say overall, it's a small, slim knife that carries fairly well. The steel, while not the greatest, is certainly not the worst, and the handle is very basic, very cost-friendly, and again, the fact that you can get these for such a cheap price is a bonus in my opinion. Plus, you can find them almost all over the world. They sell them in Germany, of course, France, Italy, the US. I believe you can get these from Heine Haynes off of Heine Haynes from the UK, and I found this one in Canada off of Hero Outdoors, but you can get them at Warriors and Wonders and many other places. So it's an easy knife to find. They make them by hand and in fairly large batches. Again, you have the choice between stainless or carbon steel, large or small, locking versus slip joint. You have black painted metal, plain stainless steel. You've got copper, you've got brass. You have a lot of options. This is a customizable knife, so if you're interested in one, you can find the model that's right for you. And I've got to say, I'm a fairly big fan of that. Overall, this knife, I would say, I'd rate a good 8 out of 10. I think that the utility aspect is amazing. It's built with very nice quality. It's got a ton of history behind it. I haven't even scratched the surface of. It's customizable in the sense you can get a model that suits you. And just overall, I would say that it's a good knife. It's an inexpensive knife. It's a quality knife. The only real issue I have with it is, amazingly, the fact that it's so thin. I know that sounds strange, as I was praising it for that. However, while being thin does mean you can carry it easily, there's not much to hold on to. And because the handle is metal, if your hand is ever wet in any way, it might be a bit slippery. And because of that, it doesn't have the same security that, say, a Buck 112 or the Hele Cletton would have. These are just some knives I can think of. Heck, I even have the Arthurite Barlow here. This knife is considerably thicker, and with the wood handle, even in conditions where you may have the chance of losing a grip of your knife, it is still very, very sturdy. You can hold on to it with ease, and it doesn't feel like it's going to slip or leave your hand. And if you'll excuse the phone ringing in the background. But nonetheless, I have to say that aside from the fact that it could be a little bit of a slippery knife to hold on to, the thinness and lightweight aspects are very much a positive. So, overall, this has been a shorter video compared to my usual, again, as I've said before, 20-plus minute long rambles. But I don't know what there is to say. It's a simple knife, built well, lots of history. You can get a model that's right for you, stainless or carbon steel, locking or non-locking, and it's inexpensive, easy to find, well-made, and it's made by a company that is just overall, well, a handmade traditional knife manufacturer in an age of factory-produced, well, everything. And I have to say, I'm still willing to support that. To me, that's valuable and something I always want to see. So, yeah, this is a great knife. Plus, it has a cat on it. So, what more do you want? Unless, of course, you're a dog person. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. This has been the Otter Mercator K55K, and this is the Knife Raven, as always, signing off. Auf Wiedersehen.